My wife says I am a controlling monster for forcing her to see a doctor. She weighs 106 pounds, takes illegal diet pills, and believes she is the healthiest she has ever been. The doctor said I saved her life. This is eating me alive. Reddit. I have been staring at this blank screen for an hour, not knowing how to put this into words. I need to know if I am the monster my wife thinks I am, or if I did what any husband should do when watching the person they love slowly disappear. My wife Laura was an elementary school teacher until budget cuts hit our district last year. For 8 years, she was the teacher every parent wanted their kid to have, the one who stayed late to help struggling students, who spent her own money on classroom supplies, who remembered every child's birthday. Teaching wasn't just her job, it was who she was. When they laid her off, it wasn't just unemployment, it was like someone ripped out her soul. I watched this confident, vibrant woman, who used to light up every room she entered, just shrink. She'd sit on our couch for hours, staring at nothing, sometimes still in her pajamas when I got home from work. At first, I thought it was normal grief. Losing a job you love is devastating, right? I gave her space, told her to take time to process, encouraged her to apply for new positions when she felt ready. But weeks turned into months, and instead of getting better, she started getting worse in ways I didn't understand. It started so small, I almost missed it. I already ate when I got home from my construction job, even though the kitchen was spotless and nothing in the fridge had been touched, picking at her food during dinner, moving it around her plate but barely taking actual bites. When I had packed her lunch for job interviews, she would come home with it untouched, claiming she forgot about it or wasn't hungry after being nervous. I am a construction engineer. I have spent 15 years learning to notice when foundations start shifting, when structures show stress fractures before they become dangerous. My wife was showing cracks, and they were spreading fast. But every single time I brought it up, she would get defensive in a way that felt completely unlike her. Stop treating me like I am broken. David, I am fine. Just stressed about finding work. You are being dramatic. I eat when I am hungry. The more concerned I got, the angrier she became. And the angrier she got, the more she pulled away from me. I started paying closer attention. Laura used to be 5'6" and a healthy 130 pounds, curvy in all the right places, strong from weekend hiking, glowing with energy. Over the course of 6 months, I watched her clothes start hanging loose. Her face became gaunt. She was always cold, always wrapped in sweaters, even on warm days. When she stood up too quickly, she would grab onto furniture to steady herself. Laura, you are scaring me, I told her one night after she had spent dinner just stirring her pasta. When is the last time you actually finished a meal? I eat, she snapped. Just because I don't stuff my face doesn't mean I am not eating. God, David, you sound like my mother. That hurt. Laura's mother had always made critical comments about Laura's weight. Laura knew comparing me to her mother was hitting below the belt. Last month, while she was in the shower, I was putting away laundry in our bedroom. That is when I found her food journal, hidden behind some teaching books she couldn't bear to pack away. Reddit. I wish I could unsee what I read in that journal. Page after page of careful handwriting documenting every single thing she put in her mouth. 400 calories, 350 calories, some days as low as 200. For reference, a healthy woman Laura's size needs around 1,800–2,000 calories just to maintain basic body functions. But it wasn't just the numbers that broke my heart. It was the notes she wrote to herself. Weak. Ate too much. Failed again. Disgusting. And at the bottom of one page, written in her careful teacher handwriting, control is all I have left. If I cannot control anything else in my life, at least I can control this. That is when I knew this wasn't just grief or stress about unemployment. This was something medical, something dangerous, something that was killing my wife slowly while convincing her it was helping her. I researched eating disorders that night after she fell asleep. What I learned terrified me. Anorexia has the highest mortality rate of any mental illness. People die from this. Their hearts stop. Their organs shut down. Their bodies literally consume themselves trying to survive. I had to act. The next morning, I told Laura we were going to see Dr. Harper, our family physician. She fought me every step of the way. You are embarrassing me, David. What will she think? I don't need a doctor. I need a job. Stop trying to control my body. I am an adult. But I had seen what 200 calories a day was doing to her body. The way her wedding ring fell off her finger. How her shoulder blades jutted out when she hugged me. The way she would shiver even with the heat turned up. I wasn't going to let politeness kill my wife. At Dr. Harper's office, Laura put on the performance of her life, smiled brightly, answered questions about stress and job hunting, insisted she was doing fine. Just adjusting to changes. When Dr. Harper asked about her weight, Laura confidently stated, I am about 116 pounds, maybe 118. I have always been naturally thin. Then came the moment that changed everything. Dr. Harper asked Laura to step on the scale. I watched my wife's face as the digital display settled on a number, 106 pounds. My 5'6" wife, who used to be a healthy 130, had lost nearly 25 pounds. In 6 months, she had lost almost 20% of her body weight. The silence in that room felt like death. Dr. Harper's expression went from routine checkup to immediate concern. She took Laura's pulse, checked her blood pressure, looked at her fingernails and the whites of her eyes. Then she sat down and spoke to Laura directly, her voice gentle but firm. Laura, your body is showing signs of severe malnutrition. Your heart rate is dangerously low, 52 beats per minute. Your blood pressure is dropping. If this pattern continues, you are at risk for heart failure, kidney damage, bone density loss, and potentially death. Laura nodded politely in front of the doctor, the way she used to nod when principals gave her feedback. But I could see the fury burning in her eyes, could practically feel the anger radiating off her body. The ride home was silent until we pulled into our driveway. Then she exploded like I had never seen before. How dare you plant ideas in her head? I am fine. You made me look crazy in there. You told her to say those things, didn't you? She stormed into the house. And I followed, trying to reason with her. Laura, I have never talked to Dr. Harper about you before today. Those numbers on the scale are normal for me. I have always been thin. You are trying to make me fat because you cannot handle having a wife who takes care of herself. That is when she grabbed blankets and pillows from our linen closet and marched down to the basement. You disrespected me, David. You betrayed my trust. I cannot be around someone who treats me like this. I am sleeping downstairs until you can apologize and admit you were wrong. That was 3 weeks ago. She has been living in our basement, coming upstairs, only when I am at work. She leaves sticky notes instead of talking to me. Stop buying groceries I didn't ask for. I can take care of myself. You betrayed my trust. The doctor was wrong. I feel like I am losing my mind. I did what I thought any loving husband would do. I got my sick wife medical help when she couldn't see that she needed it. But now she acts like I am her enemy instead of her partner. My friends at work say I did the right thing, but they don't have to live with the woman who used to be their best friend treating them like a controlling monster. I lie awake at night wondering if I crossed a line forcing her to go. Was there a better way to handle this? Because right now, I might have saved my wife's physical health, but I definitely lost my marriage, and I honestly don't know if it was worth it. The worst part, I can hear her moving around down there at all hours. 2 a.m., 4 a.m. She is not sleeping. Sometimes I hear what sounds like crying, but when I try to go downstairs to comfort her, she yells at me to go away. Update 1. Hey Reddit. Thank you for the overwhelming support on my original post. Reading your comments helped me realize I wasn't losing my mind, but I need to update you because this situation has gotten so much worse, and I discovered something that made my blood run cold. After Laura had been living in the basement for a week, I was going crazy. She had only come upstairs when I was at work. And I could tell because dishes would be moved, but nothing would actually be missing from the fridge. It was like living with a ghost who hated me. I was desperate to understand what I was really dealing with. I know this sounds terrible, like I was violating her privacy, but I was terrified she was going to die and I needed to know how to help her. When she was upstairs taking one of her long showers, which I now realize were probably to avoid being around me, I went into the basement to see how she was living. What I found broke my heart. She had made a little nest in the corner with her blankets, But the space was obsessively organized. Her phone charger was perfectly aligned. Her water bottle sat at an exact angle. She had a notebook open with what looked like some kind of schedule written in military-precise handwriting. But that wasn't what made me check her laptop. It was the stack of opened mail I found, hidden under some magazines, bills for things I had never seen. Her laptop was still logged into her email. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I was terrified and desperate. What I found made me physically sick: online receipts for illegal weight loss pills ordered from some sketchy overseas pharmacy. Not one order, dozens, $300 worth over the past 6 months. The names of these pills were in languages I couldn't even recognize, but the side effects listed in broken English included heart palpitations, seizures, liver damage, and kidney failure. She had been taking these while telling me she was fine and healthy, while sleeping in our bed next to me, while I worried I was being paranoid. But that wasn't even the worst part. She was active on something called pro-ANA forums, online communities where people with eating disorders encourage each other to restrict food and lose more weight. Reddit. I cannot even describe what I read there. People celebrating going days without eating, sharing tips for hiding weight loss from family, teaching each other how to lie to doctors, calling food the enemy and starvation strength and control. Laura's username was Controlled and Happy. She had been posting there for 8 months, longer than I had even realized she had a problem. She had shared before and after photos showing her dramatic weight loss. The comments were horrifying. Goals: "You are my inspiration. Teach me your ways." Perfect control. But the post that made me want to throw up was from the day after our doctor's appointment. "Husband dragged me to doctor today against my will. Doctor says I am dangerously underweight at 106, but I feel stronger and more in control than ever. Anyone else deal with unsupportive family members trying to sabotage your progress? He is acting like I am sick, but I am the healthiest I have ever been." The responses made me want to scream, person after person telling her to stay strong against my sabotage. Detailed advice on how to fake eating around family members. One person even suggested she consider leaving me because I was toxic and unsupportive for wanting her to gain weight. Someone with the username SkinnyForever wrote, "Husbands don't understand. They want us fat and dependent. You are threatening his control by taking control yourself. Stay strong, beautiful." Laura had responded, "Thank you. It is so hard when someone you love becomes your biggest obstacle. I just want him to see that I am happier now." I sat in that basement reading post after post of my wife describing me as the villain in her story, and I realized this wasn't just denial anymore. This was a whole hidden world that was feeding her disorder, telling her that my love and concern were threats to overcome. I called Dr. Harper immediately. She listened to everything I had found and explained that eating disorders often involve online communities that reinforce destructive behaviors. "It is like a cult mentality," she said. "They validate each other's illness and demonize anyone trying to help." She recommended I contact Laura's sister Bethany immediately, because family intervention is sometimes necessary when the patient will not seek help voluntarily. When I called Bethany and explained everything, she was furious. At me. "How could you force her to a doctor? David, Laura's always been naturally thin. She is just going through a hard time with the job loss. You are the one making this into a medical emergency. Bethany, she weighs 106 pounds and is taking illegal diet pills. That is impossible. I would know if my sister was sick. When is the last time you saw her in person?" "Christmas. But we FaceTime. She has been hiding it. Please. Just come see for yourself." Bethany drove the 2 hours to our house that weekend, still convinced I was being dramatic. She walked in ready to defend Laura and tell me I was overreacting. But then she stayed overnight and saw what I had been seeing. She watched Laura refuse breakfast with a bright smile. "Oh, I am not really a breakfast person anymore. Coffee is fine." She saw Laura pour her lunch down the garbage disposal when she thought no one was looking, then come back upstairs saying, "That sandwich was delicious." When Laura got dizzy reaching for something on a high shelf and nearly fell, Bethany caught her. I watched my sister-in-law's face change completely as she felt how light Laura had become, how fragile she was under the loose sweater. "Oh my God," Bethany whispered, looking at me with horror in her eyes. "David, you are right. She is not okay." We cannot let her keep doing this to herself. Having Bethany finally see what I had been seeing felt like a lifeline. But it also meant we both now understood how serious this had become, and how much deeper it went than either of us had realized. Dr. Harper wants Laura in an intensive outpatient program immediately, but Laura has to agree to it voluntarily. Right now, she will not even speak to either of us. She leaves notes, calling us conspirators and accusing us of ganging up on her. Her latest note said, "You are trying to make me fat and weak, like everyone else. I will not let you destroy what I have worked so hard to achieve." The hardest part is that buried in all this sickness, I can still see glimpses of my wife. Yesterday, I heard her crying in the basement, and when I knocked on the door, she said, "I am so tired, David. But I cannot stop. I don't know how to stop." But then, an hour later, she was back to leaving angry notes about how we were betraying her. I don't know what to do next. But at least now, I understand what we are really fighting. It is not just Laura's stubbornness or grief about her job. It is a disease that has convinced her that people who love her are her enemies, and that destroying her body is the same thing as saving herself. Update to Reddit. I am typing this from a hospital waiting room at 4 a.m. and my hands are still shaking. What happened last night changed everything, and I need to get this out before I lose my nerve. After my last update, things got so much worse. Laura started locking the basement door and only coming upstairs when both Bethany and I were completely gone from the house. We tried everything, leaving meals outside her door with gentle notes, playing her favorite music to try to coax her out, even having Bethany camp outside the basement door begging her to just talk to us. Nothing worked. Dr. Harper said we were dealing with severe restriction with social isolation, and estimated Laura was probably consuming fewer than 300 calories a day based on her continued weight loss and behavior patterns. I was losing my mind. I had lie awake at night listening to her move around down there, knowing she was probably doing jumping jacks or push-ups to burn off whatever minimal food she had managed to force down. Sometimes I could hear her crying, but if I tried to check on her, she would scream at me to go away. Bethany started staying over most weekends, and we developed a tag team approach. One of us would try to engage Laura while the other would check if any food had been touched. The answer was always no. 3 nights ago, around 2 a.m., I heard a crash from the basement that made my blood freeze. I found Laura collapsed at the bottom of the basement stairs, unconscious. She would apparently been trying to get to the bathroom and just fell. When I picked her up, Reddit. It was like holding a bird with broken wings. She felt like she weighed nothing, all sharp bones and cold skin. I have never been so terrified in my life. The ambulance ride felt endless. Laura kept drifting in and out of consciousness, mumbling things that didn't make sense. The EMT took one look at her and immediately started an IV, telling me her heart rate was critically low and her blood pressure was barely registering. At the emergency room, chaos. The doctor on duty looked at Laura's chart and immediately called for cardiology, endocrinology, and psychiatry. Her heart was showing signs of severe starvation-induced damage. Her potassium and sodium levels were dangerously low. Her body temperature was 94 degrees. Her blood sugar was so low they were amazed she was conscious at all. If this had gone on much longer, the cardiologist told me grimly, we would be looking at permanent heart damage, kidney failure, or worse. Her body has been essentially consuming itself to survive. I called Bethany, and she drove through the night to get to us. When she saw Laura hooked up to all those monitors, she broke down completely. I should have done something sooner. She kept saying, that is when something incredible happened. Laura, barely conscious, but hearing Bethany cry, whispered, "Don't cry, Bethy. I am okay." "No," Bethany said firmly, taking her hand. "You are not okay. Look where we are, Laura. Look what this has done to you." And for the first time in months, Laura really looked around. At the hospital room, at the machines, keeping track of her failing body, at her sister's tear-stained face. At me standing there probably looking like I had aged 10 years in 10 hours. That is when she broke down, just completely fell apart. "If I am not thin, I am nothing," she whispered through tears. "If I eat, I am weak and disgusting. I know it sounds crazy, but I cannot stop thinking it. Every piece of food feels like failure. Every day I eat nothing feels like winning. But I am so tired. I am tired all the time, and I am cold, and I cannot think straight, and I know something's wrong, but I cannot stop. For the first time in months, my wife was talking to me instead of running away from me. Dr. Harper arrived within an hour of my call. She sat down next to Laura's bed and said something I will never forget. "Laura, you don't need control over food to matter as a person. You need help to live. Because right now, your eating disorder is choosing death over life. And that is not strength or control. That is an illness that is lying to you." Then I said something I had been practicing in my head for weeks. "I am not trying to control you, Laura. I am trying to save you so we can have a future together. I would rather have you angry at me and alive than agreeable and dead. I love you, not your body weight. I love your mind and your heart and your terrible singing in the shower. None of that has anything to do with the number on a scale." Something in her face changed. For the first time since this nightmare started, she really looked at me, not with anger or defiance, but with recognition. Like she was seeing her husband who loved her instead of an enemy trying to sabotage her. "I am so tired of fighting," she whispered. "I am tired of being cold all the time. I am tired of thinking about food every single second of every day. I am tired of hating myself. I don't know how to stop." The thoughts are so loud, David. They never stop telling me I am weak and disgusting. Dr. Harper explained the options. Intensive inpatient treatment for 30-60 days, followed by intensive outpatient therapy, medical monitoring, and long-term recovery work. Laura would have to gain back the weight she had lost, learn to eat normally again, and work with specialists who understood eating disorders. "It is going to be the hardest thing you have ever done," Dr. Harper warned. "You are going to hate it some days. Your brain is going to tell you that getting healthy is actually getting sick, but recovery is possible." Laura looked at me and Bethany, then back at the doctor. Her voice was so small I had to lean in to hear her. Will I be able to think about something other than calories someday? Will I be able to eat dinner with my family without counting every bite?" "Yes," Dr. Harper said firmly. "I have seen dozens of people recover from eating disorders. It takes time, it takes work, and it takes accepting help. But yes, absolutely yes." Laura was quiet for a long time. Then she looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I am scared, David. What if I get fat? What if you don't love me anymore, Laura?" I said, taking her hand. "I fell in love with you when you were 130 pounds, and I stayed in love with you at 106 pounds. I don't love your body weight. I love you. And I want you healthy and alive more than I want anything else in the world." She nodded slowly. "Okay, I will try. I don't know if I can do it, but I will try, Reddit," I cried. Right there in that hospital room, I broke down because my wife was finally choosing life over the voice in her head that was trying to kill her. She has been in the inpatient eating disorder treatment center for 2 weeks now. It is not easy. She calls me crying some days, angry others. The program is intensive, medical monitoring, therapy 3 times a day, supervised meals, group sessions with other people in recovery. Yesterday, she told me she ate pancakes for breakfast and only cried a little bit afterward. She said it was the first time in almost a year that food felt like fuel instead of failure. We still have a long road ahead. Dr. Harper warned us that recovery isn't linear, that there will be setbacks. But for the first time since this started, I have real hope. Final update. Hey Reddit. It has been 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share where we are now because so many of you have been following our story. Laura completed her 60-day inpatient program and has been in intensive outpatient therapy ever since. It has been the hardest thing we have ever been through, but also the most important. Recovery isn't a straight line. There were days Laura would call me sobbing because she had gained a pound. Days she would stare at a sandwich for hours before taking a bite. Days she would beg me to let her skip dinner just this once. But there were also breakthrough days. The first time she finished a meal without crying. The day she threw away her bathroom scale. The morning she told me she had dreamed about teaching again instead of food. Her therapist, Dr. Sterling, helped us understand that Laura's eating disorder wasn't about food. It was about feeling powerless after losing her job. When everything felt chaotic, Dr. Sterling explained. Her eating disorder offered the illusion of control. Learning that helped me stop taking her anger personally and start seeing it as her illness fighting recovery. 3 weeks ago, Laura surprised me. She had been working on challenging foods with her nutritionist. She came home and announced she wanted to cook dinner together. "I want to make spaghetti and meatballs," she said. "The real kind, not the diet version." We went shopping together. I watched her put normal portions in our cart without obsessing over calories. When we cooked, she actually enjoyed it, tasting the sauce, laughing when flour got everywhere. Then came eating it. She cried through the first bites, working through the voices telling her she was disgusting. But she finished her plate. "I forgot how good it feels to not be hungry," she said with tears in her eyes. Last weekend, Bethany came over and Laura cooked her famous chicken parmesan. Watching her eat normally, laugh with her sister, and enjoy food again felt like a miracle. But here is what really shows me she is healing. Yesterday, her old principal called. They want her back for next fall. 6 months ago, Laura would have panicked about work stress. Instead, she smiled and said, "I think I am ready to have my life back. I miss teaching." She has gained back 18 of the 24 pounds she lost. Her heart is normal again. Her hair is growing back. She sees Dr. Sterling twice a week and will continue therapy. Recovery is lifelong work. She still has hard days. Last week, she panicked in the grocery store when she couldn't find the right bread. But now she has tools. She called me. I talked her through grounding techniques, and she finished shopping. At dinner last night, she said something that made us all tear up. "I don't need to control everything anymore. I just need people who will not give up on me even when I am giving up on myself." For anyone reading this who sees themselves in our story, recovery is possible. It is hard. It takes professional help and time, but it is possible. Laura's eating disorder tried to convince her that accepting help was weakness. The truth is that accepting help was the strongest thing she ever did. To everyone who supported us through your comments, thank you. Your words gave me strength on the darkest days. We are not cured. Recovery is ongoing, but we are together. Laura is healthy and getting stronger, and she is finding herself again. Sometimes love looks like boundaries, and sometimes saving someone means making them angry for a while, but it is worth it. She is worth it. We are worth it.